From the Gray Homestead in the heart of the Ozarks, this is Front Porch Anarchast. We're spreading the ideas of freedom and liberty from the front porch, one episode at a time. Front Porch Anarchast. Freedom starts on your own front porch. And this episode starts now.
I heartily accept the motto that government is best which governs least. Carried out, it finally amounts to this, which also I believe, that government is best which governs not at all.
I hope you're ready for another episode of Front Porch Anarchast. Tonight we are going to try a few new things. A couple of things to try to keep me on track so I don't do as much wandering and rambling. I'm constantly changing the format of the podcast. One thing, I'm a pretty busy guy, so it takes a lot of time to do one of these podcasts. You wouldn't really think so. You would think that, I'm not putting any effort into this at all, but there is quite a bit of effort that goes into it, and so it takes time, and I'm busy. We have a large garden. We're trying to figure out how to preserve some of the food that's in there. If you have any suggestions, go ahead, because we've got tomatoes coming out of our butts, and we have a lot of peppers at this point. We have sunflowers they're getting ready. We have basil, we have sage, we have quite a bit of things that we're trying to preserve, doing a little bit of dehydrating, doing a little bit of canning. So anyway, and there's a lot of downtime in between each episode of Front Porch Anarchast. So I'm always trying to change things. Believe it or not, I really don't want to be rambling. I want to make this worth your while. Make the best use of your time that I can. So I'm trying a few different things. I think tonight I will I'll run down some of the posts that I made on the Front Porch Anarchast Facebook page and see how that goes. That'll kind of keep me on track. And then maybe afterwards I'll play one of my Richard's Road Rants. If you listen to the last episode, that's all that one was just a Richard's Road Rant. Before I get started here, one thing is, okay, so sometimes when I make comments on things on social media, I don't know what it is. It's like the low IQ people, or maybe just the people who don't want to think outside the box. Maybe they can't. Maybe just the idea that someone doesn't believe the same way they do, or maybe they feel like I'm trying to change their life, or maybe I'm trying to destroy their world, or I don't know. Maybe they just feel threatened, so they just lash out the best way they know how. And, I make a simple comment, and there was a post. It was about Joe Biden and Afghanistan, people getting killed or something over there, and I can't find that post right now, but the response to it, my response was, I can't believe people, hold on a second. Oh yeah, here we go. My response was, I can't imagine why people are willing to put their faith in governments. And there was one decent reply to that. And then this guy, Joseph Maxwell, I told him I would give him credit for this. I'd make sure to give him credit for this. So, hey Joseph, if you're listening, thank you for this. So Joseph's response to me was, I'm going to quote this, this is exactly what he wrote. Front Porch Anarchast, you spelled your name wrong, Haas. And so I asked Joseph Maxwell here on Facebook, which part, Haas? And then Joseph, in his infinite wisdom, says it's anarchist with an I. Now, if you listen to the show very long, right? It's Front Porch Anarchast. Anarchy, podcast, Anarchast. I would think people who listen to podcasts get it. You found it somehow or another. I'm assuming that you understand what it is. Joseph wasn't really thinking. He just wanted to lash out at me, I guess, because I can't imagine why people are willing to put their faith in governments. And I guess that just offended his sensibilities. I don't know. He really didn't go into it. So he just tells me it's anarchist in quotation marks. And that's when I told him, well, that's actually anarchist, Hoss. The name of the podcast is Front Porch Anarchast. Anarchist plus podcast, right? Even gave him a link to 5 things you need to know about Front Porch Anarchast. It describes it all right there. So Joseph goes on to tell me that let's see what he says here. Oh, Front Porch Anarchast, changing one letter is a lazy portmanteau, and it doesn't really work. Drop the H and maybe add a hyphen. But what I pointed out to him is that he's just like all the rest of the statists. They want to lash out at me and just say that, you can't even spell anarchist. So anarchy would never work because you can't spell anarchist, right? Joseph, I really hope you listen to this episode. Maybe you'll listen all the way through, actually, because I'm really not that bad of a guy, Hoss. I'm just your normal, average guy who just wants everybody to leave me alone. That's all I'm looking for. I don't need anybody in a suit 2,000 miles away telling me what to do. Some tired old little man can't even find his way to his front door. I don't need him telling me what to do. I don't need that guy to, be sucking the life out of me so that he can tell me what to do. I'm more than capable of living my own life. I don't need that. I don't even need some guy who's 100 miles away from me telling me what to do or how I need to live my life. As long as I'm not hurting anybody, what business is it of some guy 100 miles away from me telling me what I have to do? Why do I need some guy who's even 20 miles away from me telling me how tall my grass has to be in my yard? I don't even need my neighbor telling me, what color my house has to be. What's that all about? Why do people think they have the right to tell me how I need to live my life? As long as I'm not physically or mentally hurting somebody, what do they care? What color my house is, or how tall my grass is, how many cars I have in my driveway, or where they are on my property? It's my property, right? What right do they have? What right do they have to tell me that, even though I don't have any kids that go to this public school that's just a few miles down the road, why do they have the right to take money from me to fund that school? I have 3 kids. My kids don't go to that school. I take care of my own kids. Why are they taking money from me to do that? They don't have the right to do that. They have the might to do that. And sorry for going off on that totally that rant there, but the people who believe in that, the people who believe in all of that level of statism, they're the people who are trying to call me out for the name of my podcast. Something so silly as the name of a podcast. They can't wrap their head around it. They want to make fun of that. So hey, Joseph, thanks for some material there. You know what, Joseph, send me your address and I'll send you a Front Porch Anarchast t-shirt. That way you can remember how it's spelled, Anarchast. Right? Lazy and all. And I'm serious about that. And talking about t-shirts, I dabble in t-shirts and decals, and I do have some Front Porch Anarchast t-shirts. I'll make a deal with the listeners now. And I don't have a lot of listeners, but, as far as podcasts go, I have a pretty fair following. The first 5 people that will message me with their address and asking for a t-shirt, I'll send you a t-shirt. Now, there's no telling what color t-shirt it's going to be on, but You send me all that information and the size you want. And don't worry, I'm not coming to your house to stalk you or anything like that. I just need a place to send it. I can send it to your place of work. Wherever you can have a t-shirt delivered, I can send that to you. And you know what? If you're in Southwest Missouri, I can bring it to you. How about that? Let me put a caveat of about 30 miles outside of Springfield, whichever direction you are, okay? I could even do that. Or I could stick it in the mail, whichever you want. And you can check out the Facebook page there for pictures of the Front Porch Anarchast t-shirt. It just has a small logo, and on the back I put taxation is theft on that. So it's really nothing, outrageous, but might be on a blue t-shirt, might be on a fluorescent yellow t-shirt, maybe on an orange one, maybe on a black one. But if you will send that information to me, I will send the first 5 people that do that a t-shirt free of charge. So, let me get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. I'm just going to scroll down my Facebook page here and read off some of the things I shared since the last episode of Front Porch Anarchast. Oh, okay, very first one. There is a man named Paul Calvert. He has sometimes I've heard him on a radio show out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And Paul is a gentleman and a scholar, a gentleman scholar, maybe, philosopher, I guess. And every now and then Paul comes up with a really good post. Now, Paul, if you ever listen to this, I really enjoy your posts. I get you, I think. But you're still a little statist. I hate to say it, but you and I have had some Facebook discussions, and you're still a little statist. And my point of contention with your level of libertarianism is that a couple of times now you've said that you think that some level of taxation is warranted as long as the state is providing me with services. And I'm paraphrasing that like police and fire, because they're providing me with a service. And, I'll go off on a tangent here too. Out at my place in Arkansas, I can't get the police to respond. I actually had somebody shoot a bullet into the cabin that I was occupying. Bounced off of a wall in there. I called the police, and the police wouldn't come out. It was a sheriff's department, but they wouldn't come out. Out where this cabin is, if I want fire protection, I have to pay for it, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with paying $400 a year or whatever that is for fire protection, because, that's on me. That's between me and the firefighters. There's no point in the taxation. If I don't want that service, I don't pay it. I don't have to pay it. And if my place burns down, it burns down. That should be my option. It should be the same way with the police, which, I mean, the sheriff's department, they're still getting my money in one way or another, but they've made it very clear that they are not coming out there. I agree with you on most things, Paul, but on that basic level of taxation there, it's still theft. But in this post I made, it was just sharing one of Paul Calvert's posts, and he just asked a question here. Which part of liberty is most terrifying to you? Number 1, the part that makes you responsible for making decisions about your own life, or number 2, the part that makes it impossible for you to make decisions for your neighbors' lives. If you just read this, you would think, all right, this guy is a voluntarist or an anarchist, but there's still that level of statism there. And I really think the reason why it's of this post of his was important is because he has a pretty large following, as far as I can tell, and every now and then he calls out the statists. So good on you, Paul, for making the statists think a little bit there. His followers there, they did not respond at all to that one. There was one guy who just said, who picked one of those. And then I was the only other person who commented on that, as far as I can tell. He did get some shares on that. Next post. I shared an article. The title of it is Small Arkansas School Offering Incentives Like PlayStations to Get Students Vaccinated. So that in itself is that's a pretty good headline. There's a quote in this article. It says, quote, also if a student's been vaccinated based on what the health department is telling us, we do not have to quarantine those students. So it's about keeping students healthy and trying to keep our students to be able to stay on campus. And that was Michael Bramlett. He's the K-12 principal for the Shirley School District. Okay, Michael, I get it. I mean, how much more of a statist can you get than a principal of a school, right? You're churning out little statists. That's your job. I get it. You're trying to use statist funds to pay for this statist endeavor to make little statists. I get that. Okay? But we'll get back to to what the health department's telling you, but first of all, just to do this to kids, it's deplorable. Michael, would you do the same thing to kids, like at Christmas? Would you I guess I need to kind of explain what was going on here. They let the kids enter into a raffle for a chance to win prizes. Maybe they actually do have a chance of getting, oh yeah, the prizes include a PlayStation, Xbox, television, or Beats by Dre headphones. So they're offering kids who...
Should schools offer students incentives to get vaccinated?
All right, well, that was weird. But they're allowing kids who've been vaccinated to enter this. And of course, if a kid's...
Go to THV11.com/...
All right, well, that's pretty annoying there. Let me find a way to turn that down. It's a pretty deplorable thing that he's doing there. Some other bureaucrat from that school says that the school district got the idea from other schools. There are about 340 students in total for the district. We gave our staff a $200 incentive. We felt like it was only fair to give some kind of incentive to students. This woman's name is Tyreen Gardner, I think. She's some sort of principal or superintendent or something for the school. We're just trying to do everything we can to keep our schools safe and give them the best education and the best experience that we can. And then in a statement provided by the school district, it says, we cannot teach them if they are not at school. We want students to be here every day. We want students to get to participate in extracurricular activities and not miss their school experience. We want to keep all members of our community safe. All right. Let me address the part about entering some kids into this and not other kids. Would they do the same thing to kids who are like at Christmas time? Would they do the same thing? Would they allow kids whose parents celebrate Christmas to enter some kind of a drawing for prizes, but like Jewish kids wouldn't be allowed to because they don't celebrate Christmas? Would Jehovah's Witnesses, would they not be allowed to? There's a couple of other ones, a couple of other religions that don't do that, but that wouldn't go over. Why do they want to make something political out of this? Why not just let everybody sign up for this or nobody sign up for it? It just makes no sense singling out these kids who are probably going through a pretty tough time right now anyway, trying to wrap their head around why everybody in this, in the state-funded education bureaucracy, why they're all getting these shots, and their parents though are like, we're just not going to get the shot for whatever reason. We're just not going to do it. It's not fair to ostracize the kids. I've been in that situation when I was younger, not for shots or anything like that, but actually for not celebrating Christmas. Didn't celebrate Christmas. No pledging of allegiance to a flag or anything like that. And let me tell you that there's a lot of peer pressure going on for the kids to conform and do what everybody else is doing. I mean, it's the point of public schools, right? Is to get you to conform so that you all have some sort of shared vision of history, so that you all think alike, you all know the same things. It's like it kind of levels the playing field for adulthood, and they're churning out basically little clones that are good taxpayers. That's the job of the school. No matter what they want to, no matter what the principal and the teachers want to pretend, that's their job. Churn out those little taxpayers. Well, little taxpayers and little vaccine takers, right? Let me get into that part here where they're talking about the vaccine keeping their kids safe, their students safe. Does it keep them safer? Maybe safer, right? I think the main takeaway here is that this Michael Bramlett guy here, where he says the main focus is keeping the kids in school. Of course it is, because that's how he gets paid, right? His school brings in money based on how many kids are in his school every day. He goes on to say, which is the quote I quoted earlier, also, if a student's been vaccinated based on what the health department is telling us, we do not have to quarantine those students. So it's about keeping students healthy and trying to keep our students to be able to stay on campus. All right, let's follow the science for a minute. What are they talking about? And maybe he just misstated this, but so if they have a kid with COVID, they don't have to quarantine the kid? Is that it? Or are they saying that if the person is exposed to COVID, they don't have to quarantine them? Either way, I mean, everything I'm seeing, and I think I have a post or two about that as well that maybe I can talk about later, but everything I'm seeing and what I've heard from the CDC and the World Health Organization, fully vaccinated people can get this disease. So, I mean, why do they not have to quarantine those people? Why do they only quarantine the students who haven't had the COVID's vax? Those are questions I would have really liked to have asked this Michael Bramlett guy, or even this Gardner person. It says here that she's the superintendent. Oh, and it also says that if the vaccine is ever approved for children under 12, they'd do another raffle just for them too. All right, so she kind of doubled down on that. No matter where you fall on the vaccine issue, I can't imagine singling these kids out that way. It just seems wrong. It really seems wrong that the public school people can't figure that one out. Next post is, it was an opinion piece from CNN. Let me read you just the headline here. Opinion. You do not have the constitutional right to refuse the COVID-19 vaccine. All right, not going to disagree there. You don't have a constitutional right to anything that the government says you don't have a constitutional right to, because it's their constitution. If they decide that it doesn't say what you think it means, then you're out of luck. So I'm not going to argue with that point. But man, there are some... There's some real... that headline is a little misleading, because it went from that headline of you do not have the constitutional right to refuse the COVID-19 vaccine to the author calling for coercion from the state to force compliance for the shot. And she goes on to claim that the government has dominion over your kids. Like, it doesn't matter what you as a parent think. It's the collective that decides what happens to your kid. My partner and I, we had a discussion earlier today. Now, I've been called a conspiracy theorist, and even up to a year ago, for suggesting that eventually it would come to this, and here it is. It's coming to this. There was another guy. He did the same thing. I did not share that one. I could probably find that pretty easily. This woman is just wanting government just to go ahead and start issuing fines for people who don't take it. And we all know where that leads, right? Because, and maybe she hasn't really thought about it. Maybe, maybe she's just a statist that really hasn't thought about what's behind a fine. But that's just the first step of the threat. If you don't pay the fine, then they come get you to haul you into their court, find out why you didn't pay the fine. They'll usually give you a chance at that point to go ahead and pay the fine. If you don't pay the fine, they're going to put you in a cage. What happens if you resist going in the cage, or what happens if you resist going to court? They're going to resort to violence, and then they're going to call you a nut job for putting up a resistance to their ideas. To me, it's a really scary article that CNN would even share such a thing. But it does show the mindset. A year ago, I'm being labeled a conspiracy theorist for saying this was going to happen, and here's this woman calling for it. The other guy, I didn't link to it, but the other guy, he was calling for businesses and insurance companies to force the unvaccinated to pay more for insurance, and he cited some that he worked with government and some anti-smoking legislation or price increases from the insurance companies or something, so that the smokers would have to pay more, and that's for their insurance. And that's kind of what he was leaning toward on the for the people who don't take the COVID vax. And you know what? If a health insurance company wants a person to pay more for not being vaccinated for whatever, okay, fine, that's great. Now, if another company comes along and, they're going to offer lower rates, then that's also fine. It'd be great if government would just stay out of the whole insurance game in the first place, and then we could all pick and choose what we want, and we would get the best possible rate there. These opinion pieces that CNN are trying to sell here, they're trying to force the mandate. Of course, that tired little man who looks like I probably shouldn't pick on people for the way they look, but come on. He looks like the puppet, the angry old man puppet that the guy, I can't come up with his name right now, but there's some comedian that uses a few puppets, and one of the puppets he has is some angry old guy, and it just reminds me of Joe Biden. I'm looking at a picture of him right now, and he just looks like that puppet. But, even Joe Biden, was calling for businesses to mandate these shots. He doesn't have the power to do it himself. He knows he doesn't have the support of the people to get that done. So he's calling on business people to mandate this, and I don't know. It seems pretty wrong to me. Speaking of Biden, the next post I have here has to do with Afghanistan. It says the headline from the article here is Biden decides to keep the August 31st deadline to withdraw from Afghanistan as evacuations. Oh, they changed it. Now it just says Biden keeps August 31st deadline to withdraw from Afghanistan. Quote, the sooner we finish, the better. So Biden's taking a lot of flack for that right now. No pun intended there with flack. But the poor old man, 20 years ago, he might have been a little more coherent. Hopefully I can, let me see if I can play a clip from his latest speech, or one of his latest speeches or press conferences or whatever right here.
And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you why can't the experts say we know that this virus is in fact is going to be, or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved but permanently approved.
Biden was more rambly than I am, and he's the supposed leader of the supposed free world. And the poor old guy, he just can't hold it together, and people are telling him what to say. I mean, he's admitting that people are telling him who to call on to ask questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
I saw a video of this old guy the other night. This guy here, he was supposed to be going into the White House, and he was following. He had two Secret Service people, one in front of him and one behind him. They were going. The one in front of him stopped, turned around, pointed at the door in the direction that Biden was supposed to go. Then that Secret Service agent spins around and he goes down to the next thing. He's off the sidewalk, right? Biden just kept on going. He didn't stop. He didn't turn where he was supposed to turn, even though the guy just pointed him in the right direction. So the Secret Service agent that was following Biden, he just stops because now he's like, oh, crap, what do we do? The president's still going. He's off the sidewalk. He's in the grass. And they managed to wrangle him and get him in the right door. But the poor old man, I mean, somebody should get in trouble for this. If they're going to be statists about it, and they're going to hold regular people accountable for elder abuse, somebody should probably be held accountable for abusing this elderly old man. He just shouldn't be. They shouldn't be doing him that way. And I say that sincerely too. I don't even mean that in a harsh way. Anyway, Biden, he says that he's going to keep this August 31st deadline to get everybody out of Afghanistan. The only answer I can come up with this is what the statists usually say about some unarmed guy who gets shot or killed or whatever. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I don't understand why people continue to support the government like this. It doesn't matter if it's the federal government trying to colonize the people of a country against their will, like in Afghanistan, or if it's a local group of parents fighting over what time school's going to start, or whether or not masks have to be worn, or what they're going to have for lunches, or how long the recesses are going to be, or if you can pick your kid up in front of the school, or if you have to wait in a line, or if the kid has to ride the bus. You play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes, right? This has all happened before, with just like in Afghanistan. I mean, I don't remember Vietnam because I was a year old when they were doing or maybe I was just born when they were doing the airlifts out of there. I heard about it plenty of times growing up, and it happened before that too. The Berlin airlift after World War II. I mean, it's all happened before. It's going to happen again. After Afghanistan's over, they're going to pick some other country. It's going to happen there. It's going to happen there too. Why trust government? Why? Yeah, I could just keep going on this, but it looks like at this point, the August 31st deadline is just a few days away. They're not going to get everybody out of there, and people are going to die. They might get all the Americans out. Doesn't look like they're going to, but the people who help the U.S. government over there, they're not all going to get out. I mean, I'm listening to press conferences. They say that the people who are taking control there in Afghanistan, they already have lists that the U.S. left behind of the people who helped the U.S. You know what's going to happen to those people. They're going to go find those people and they're going to execute them. And I feel sorry for those people in a way. At the same time, why didn't they know that playing with the U.S. government is a deadly game? It's a dangerous game. You're always one step away from getting thrown under the bus. And in this case, that's what's happening to these people. Biden's throwing them under the bus. And don't get me wrong, if Trump was president, he'd be throwing them under the bus. If Obama was still president, he would be throwing them under the bus. Bush, he started the whole thing. So, I mean, he was throwing them under the bus as well. Speaking of Afghanistan, my next post here was I shared an article. U.S. Marines fire a pair of anti-ship missiles with new mobile launcher. So they have it looks like a Jeep or a Humvee, just no top on it, but it's carrying around this anti-ship missiles. So they're testing these guys out, but, is this going to be the next thing that the U.S. government leaves for their enemies? I just saw a press conference where one of Biden's guys say that, or one of the government's guys say that the U.S. military left behind $85 billion worth of weapons and equipment along those lines. $85 billion. We're seeing, I see pictures of these Taliban people riding around in the Humvees that the U.S. took over there. So they're riding around these Humvees that have 50 caliber machine guns on the top of them. They ended up with some Black Hawk helicopters and other aircraft, drones, small arms. One thing I heard today said that they left behind 600,000 small arms. 600,000. If I leave my gun out somewhere, I can go to jail for that. And the U.S. government just left behind 600,000 of them. How ridiculous is that? They just walked away and left their enemy that they've been fighting for 20 years with 600,000 small arms and an unnamed number of Humvees with 50 caliber machine guns mounted on the top, armored, whatever these MRAP things are. I mean, they left them all of this stuff, and nobody bats an eye. But if I leave a pistol in a bathroom and a kid gets a hold of it, then, I'm on the hook here. They're trying to pass laws that say that I have to leave all of my guns in a safe. If I'm not actively holding on to it, it has to be inside a safe. I can't just leave it inside my house because, somebody might break into my house where they're not supposed to be and steal my gun. What a crazy world. Old Creepy Joe is just, this guy, he's really a piece of work. That takes me to the next one here where I'm actually calling him Creepy Joe, where he's calling for the private sector to mandate COVID vaccines for employees. Yeah, I've got one thing to say about that. Creepy Joe needs to stay out of my business. The article's from NBC News. Biden calls on private companies to issue vaccine requirements. So in other news, the FDA approved the vaccine, at least one or two of them. I don't remember which one. My next post is, it was a simple one here. It was just a stupid little thing I typed out. So now all of you, it's not FDA approved people going to run out and get it. It was a silly argument from the beginning that these people were making, that they weren't going to, that they shouldn't have to get the vaccine, or they weren't going to get it because it hadn't been FDA approved. That's ridiculous. Why would they make that argument? Because we all knew it was going to be FDA approved at some point, right? So you're sitting there telling me you don't have to get it because it's not FDA approved. Where's your argument now? Where's your argument against this now? My argument against this the whole time is that I don't want it. It's nobody's right to force it on me. I don't want it. So there you go. My partner and I, we were talking about that today, as I said earlier, and trying to figure out where our line in the sand is going to be on that. And, I get it. Private businesses can decide who's going to work for them. And, places like Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club and Costco, they already decide who's going to shop there. You don't have one of their ID things, you're not supposed to be in there. They'll turn you away, supposedly. So why can't they just add that vax thing to it? To me it's fine. I think businesses should be able to decide who's inside their store, whatever the reason. And, I'm thinking that if you think that businesses have the right to not serve the unvaccinated, why wouldn't you think that they have the right to not serve anybody they choose not to? It's just kind of hypocritical to pick who they can and can't serve and try to force that on them. The government should just stay out of that whole thing. And, yeah, it's going to suck for some people, but if I see a business who isn't serving people just because they're black or just because they're Hispanic or whatever, I'm going to go somewhere else. And, the black people and Hispanic people aren't going to be going there. I'm going to assume about half the white people that were shopping there probably won't be going either. They're going to lose a great deal of business over that. So let them suffer. Let them be who they are. Let them be their authentic self, as they tell me at work. Yeah, that's probably all I should say on that one. The next post I have that I shared, oh my gosh. This one, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever you want to call me, and, that I'm just making things up and I'm making things as bad as it can be, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with what's going on down in Australia right now, but they went through another cycle of lockdowns because there were like 4 cases of COVID down there, so they're closing everything down. I'm just going to read you this headline. It's from thedailybeast.com, and I heard it on a couple of different outlets. It's hard to even read it. Rescue dogs executed so volunteers wouldn't risk COVID to get them. So the rescue shelter, has dogs in there. Australia enacts this lockdown for a week or 2 weeks, whatever it was. They knew people would still try to go get the dogs out of the rescue so that they could get the dogs adopted. So the government went in and executed the dogs, or euthanized them, whatever term they used to sugarcoat that. The government went in and killed the dogs so that people wouldn't go out to get these dogs. What kind of crap is that? It's to me, they did it so that they could judge the amount of pushback, the amount of resistance that they were going to get from the people they claimed dominion over. And you know what? They got no pushback. As far as I can tell, nobody cared. It's dogs first, people. And what do they do next? They start shooting people or executing people in nursing homes so people don't risk going there to see their loved ones? What kind of crap is that? And why? I almost said, why do the people of Australia put up with that? But they gave up their guns. Okay, call me a conspiracy theorist, but they gave up their guns. The government can do whatever they want to. Every now and then I see, some weird thing where the Australian government is all excited because they caught some guy with he had an illegal handgun. People gave up their guns. They gave the government the right to be the only ones with the guns. And now the government is executing dogs so that people don't go out to try to rescue the dogs or try to get the dogs so they can adopt them out. Yeah, if you can't see where that one's going, yeah, you might need some glasses for sure if you can't see where that one's going. I don't really know what else to say about that. I shared an article here about, this one was from NBCnews.com as well. Brothers 8 and 6 steer car safely off-road after father shot and killed while driving. Was it road rage? Was it some kind of gang thing? I have no idea. But what kind of people do this? What kind of people shoot into a vehicle? And, if the father was into some kind of gang thing or whatever, why was he putting his kids in this kind of danger? Why was the person shooting at him putting kids in danger? I don't know. And maybe by this point they found out who did that. I don't know. This was 4 days ago. Oh, and then I shared a post from Toward Anarchy, and Toward Anarchy is a radio show. It's a terrestrial. I hope I said that right. Radio show, and you can catch it on online live. All you have to do is go to the Toward Anarchy website, and there's a link right there where you can just click on it, and you can listen live on Sunday afternoons. I think it starts at 1 o'clock, so you should give that a listen. I believe the man who does it, I believe his name is Michael Storm. He's He's an anarchist as far as I can tell, and it's kind of refreshing to hear that on the radio. The network he's on, though, after Toward Anarchy is on, after it goes off, there's some other guy on there that is, the name of his show is the Trump Phenomenon Show. TPS. And it's nuts because that guy still, he believes that Trump is the rightful president, so he's still president. I mean, he can't grasp the idea of government, that when the government tells you who the president is, that's the president. I mean, he drools over that Trump character. Listen to Toward Anarchy. It's a good show. Michael Storm seems to be a pretty good guy. Don't listen after it goes off or your head will explode. Next post I shared. It was a meme somebody else had shared. It's just a quote. If you ever feel useless, remember, it took 20 years, trillions of dollars, and 4 U.S. presidents to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. They left out the number of people who died over that. But the point still stands. 20 years, trillions of dollars, 4 presidents, and the same people are still in charge over there. It's mind-boggling. The people of Afghanistan, they didn't want change. They were sovereign people. If you believe in such things, they had the right to set up their own government if you believe in governments. But yet, the U.S. goes over there and just tries to basically colonize it. It wasn't going to work. I mean, the Russians had tried it. 100 years before that, the English had tried it. British, whatever. It's never going to work over there. They're of a totally different mindset than the Western world, and I don't have a right to force my opinion on them through the barrel of a government's gun. I don't know why anybody thought this was going to turn out any differently, but, there you go. I ran across a post online, and it's I don't know, do you call it a passage from the Bible? Do you call it a chapter and verse? Anyway, some guy shares this thing. It says, Romans 13:1, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. 2. I guess that would be Romans 13:2. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. Romans 13:3. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right and you will be commended. All right, I'm going to just go out on a limb here. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a believer in any kind of religion or anything. But I've had people quote this whole passage or parts thereof of whatever this is, and to justify the existence of the state, of the government. But I read this, and I mean, to me, it's pretty clear. That's exactly what it's saying. I did get some. I tried to participate in a discussion about such a thing there, and basically, what I got from some people is that that this was taken out of context. Now, I don't know if the Bible is the Word and the Word is the truth, and I mean, there it is. It's written. It's in black and white, actually, like gray and white, or gray and darker gray. It says pretty clear here to me that the only governments that exist, or the only authorities that exist, are those which the Christian God has ordained. So, best not be going against it. And what I found is some people actually, they believe that too. They believe it word for word. And I can't wrap my brain around that. I can't, even even if I wasn't an anarchist, how would I wrap my brain around someone saying that the Nazis were ordained by a god, therefore they should not have been rebelled against? It makes no sense to me. And I really think that only a weak-minded person would use that as an excuse to say that government is legitimate. Here's some really brilliant ideas shared by Sean Penn, the actor Sean Penn. I would tell you what movie he's from, but honestly, I can't remember any of the movies, any of the names. I can't even remember any characters he played. But here's a quote from this article. The article is from Deadline.com. It says, Sean Penn likens unvaccinated people to someone pointing a gun in your face. Sean Penn likens unvaccinated people to someone pointing a gun in your face and citing Second Amendment rights. So, old Sean Penn, he goes on to say, I'm just gonna quote this really critical thinker here. Quote, it's, I have some areas of strong belief in the Second Amendment. But I think that you need to recognize how, with something like this, you can't go around pointing a gun in somebody's face, which is what it is when people are unvaccinated. All right, I'm just going to leave that there, let you draw your own conclusions from that. I have mine. If you're interested in my idea, my thoughts on the subject, just leave me a message. And a little bit of lighter news here. I was driving to work one day. This was 5 days ago, a few days before that. So about a week ago, I'm driving to work, and I see a van. And on the side of the van, it says Rainbow Trash Warriors. And evidently, it's like a hippie group. They go around and they just pick up trash. Is that not awesome? I mean, they just drive around, pick up trash. I checked out their Facebook page, and that's pretty much what they seem like. It's just people who want to pick up trash. They want the world to be a cleaner place. So more power to these Rainbow Trash Warriors. You should go check them out if you're into such things. Oh my gosh. August 21st, 1992 was the day that the government killed Randy Weaver's son and his wife on some pretty sketchy grounds. They tried to set the guy up, and then they send armed agents out there, and kid sees somebody with a gun, he shoots at them, they kill him, and then they killed his wife. It was a pretty sad situation. I don't think they were able to convict Weaver of anything, and I think they ended up having to pay him a couple $1 million for what they did to his family. I can't even imagine losing your son over something like that, let alone your wife. I mean, they even killed the dog. Doesn't make any. And I think that's why the kid shot, is because somebody had shot his dog. He shoots them, and then it's on. It's a horrible thing. There's no law that the state isn't willing to set you up to break so that they can own you, which is what they were trying to do with Randy Weaver. And it didn't work out well at all. And I don't even think any of those guys got in trouble for that. Talk about demoralizing. Oh, and I think this will be the last one that I go into. This one was from, I posted this 6 days ago. It's from NPR.org. I've been listening to a lot of NPR podcasts. It's crazy crap. It's funny, though, because they've started turning on Biden. They were very anti-Trump. As far as I could tell, they wanted Biden to win, and now they're turning against Biden. The only people that... I'll tell you what, if you haven't watched Sky News Australia, you should watch that, because those guys are constantly on Biden. It's pretty funny. They've got one woman on there, and her sense of timing and her facial expressions after she plays a clip of Biden doing something, it's funny to watch. So this that I shared from NPR.org. Highly vaccinated Israel is seeing a dramatic surge in new COVID cases. Here's why. There's something about it just doesn't make sense to me because the Israeli government, they're still blaming infections on unvaccinated people, even though that the vaccinated people, they're also spreading the infection throughout Israel. And then they, in this article at least, they totally discount Palestinians as spreaders of the disease, because they say all of the Palestinians that get into Israel have to show proof of vaccination. When in Israel, half of the seriously ill people with COVID, they've been fully vaccinated. So it makes no sense to me. The fully vaccinated people, if they can catch it, they can transmit it. So those people coming in from Palestine, I guess that's what you call it, even if they're fully vaccinated, they could be spreading this crap. There's a quote in the article. It says that means only 58% of Israel's total citizenry is fully vaccinated, and experts say that's not nearly high enough. We have a very large fraction of our population who are paying the price for a very small fraction of the population who did not go to get the vaccine. Unvaccinated people helped fuel the rapid spread of the virus while the country remained open for business in recent months with few serious restrictions. The bad news, doctors say, is that half of Israel's seriously ill patients who are currently hospitalized were fully vaccinated at least 5 months ago. Then they go on to say that the Palestinian population is not a source of transmission in Israel. Only vaccinated Palestinians are given permits to enter Israel and Israeli settlements. I don't get the mindset there. Where's the logic? Do you see any logic in that? Makes no sense. Oh, I know I said that one was the last one, but here in nationalreview.com, it says, something is wrong with the president. Of course there's something wrong. He's a freaking egomaniac who has always sought to have this power. He's always sought to be in that chair. And now he's so old that he can't fulfill the duties. I mean, anybody can just listen to the man. 20 years ago, maybe he would have been the right guy. If that's what you wanted to do was, hire some guy to tell you what to do, maybe he would have been the guy. He's not the guy now. There's somebody pulling his strings. I mean, he says it in some of these interviews as, this is what they're telling me to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
Just nuts. That's probably about all that I'm going to share for the night. If you if you get a chance, you can peruse the old Facebook page there and see what I've shared. If you really are looking for something to do, you can always check out the Mewe page too. Front Porch Anarchist on Facebook and at Mewe. Scroll through there. Leave your opinions on those things. Believe it or not, I'm not always a butthole about things, and I do, and I enjoy thoughtful discussion. That's what I enjoy. If you're just going to call me names or whatever, that's probably not going to go over very well. There's some guy on Mewe. He was on Mewe. My profile picture is just the artwork for the podcast. But I mean, literally, I think I counted up, like, it's 2 clicks. You can go to Facebook, and once you find my Front Porch Anarchist webpage, all you have to do is just scroll through it. I'm on there. My name and profile are there. You just click on it and you can see my face, right? Oh man, this guy, he was nuts. He was going off on me, show my face. He wanted me to show my face, and I was a coward because I wasn't showing my face. Now, never mind, when I was looking at his picture, his face wasn't on there either. But anyway, I ended up going to his profile, and the guy was a real anti-Semite. And I think he wanted to make sure that I didn't fit some kind of a certain look or something. That's the best I could come up with, because I have no idea why a rational person would be so upset about my profile picture on Mewe not having my face on there. That's just nuts. He was telling me daring me or something to hook up a webcam and have a face-to-face, I don't know, debate with him. I don't even know what we would be debating. Just nuts. But that being said, you can reach me on Mewe. You could also go to anchor.fm/frontporchanarchast. That takes you to the page that has all of the episodes of Front Porch Anarchast on it. It's a pretty neat little podcast hosting platform. A lot of podcasters, they all have their own platforms that they're really into, and any other platform is crap. And Anchor gets bad press because for some reason podcasters want to claim that Anchor owns whatever podcasts are on it, except it says right in the terms of use, or whatever that's called, it says right there that Anchor doesn't own the podcast. So I'm not really sure why, but I like Anchor. They've been a good host to me. I don't get paid to say that yet. I mean, I could have been all along if I wanted to. There's just a button you have to click, and I'd rather not do that because I like a little autonomy. But you can go to that webpage, anchor.fm/frontporchanarchast, and scroll through all the episodes, listen to all those that you want to. You can download them. You can leave me a voicemail from right there. There's a little button you just push, and you can just talk into your phone, or you can talk into your computer's microphone and leave me a voicemail that I could play on a future episode of Front Porch Anarchast. And I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Good night.
We hope you enjoyed this broadcast of the Front Porch Anarchast. Like and share our page, or send us a message at Front Porch Anarchast on Facebook.
Anarchy needs no masters. Anarchy needs no masters.
Front Porch Anarchast.